Support Name Explain on Patreon for ad-free videos, exclusive podcasts and blog posts, and to help choose what names get explained. Click the link in the description. Capital cities tend to be the most well-known part of a nation, so much so that many capitals are synonymous with their nations, as are their names. When people think of the UK, they most likely think of London too. Same for places like France and Paris, and Russia and Moscow. These places and their names are truly entrenched in the history books. This, however, is not quite always the case. Not every capital city has a name that is as cemented in world history as the likes of London, Paris and Moscow. Across our globe, many capital cities have actually changed their name, some of which we've actually already looked into here on the channel. Some have just changed their name once, while others have had multiple name changes. Others started with one name, changed it, and then went back to that original name. There are actually way more of these than I anticipated, so today is going to be just a brief overview into the names of these cities and what they used to be called. Consider this more name highlight as opposed to name explain. I have no doubt, however, that we'll look into some of these in more detail in the future. Anyway, as far as I could tell, this is every current capital city on our planet has changed its name, though please let me know if I've missed any. And when I say changed its name, I mean drastically changed it. Some have just changed the name slightly for spelling or translation reasons. Take Botswana's capital. It was once called Gaborone and is now just called Gaborone. Ones like that I won't be covering here today. And before you comment down below, Peking to Beijing won't be covered here as that city never technically changed its name. We will be going in alphabetical order of the nations these cities are in, starting with Algeria's capital of Algiers. In the ancient past, this city had a different name altogether, Icosium. It seems however this wasn't so much a name change, but the old city was destroyed and the new city of Algiers was built in its place. Bangladesh's capital of Dhaka was initially called Jahangir after a former leader. It would stick with this name until 1610 when it was renamed to Dhaka. The capital of the tiny nation of Brunei was once simply known as Brunei Town. The city was named Bandar Seri Begawan in 1970 in ode to one of their former sultans. During the Roman Empire, Bulgaria's capital was known as Seleucia. It would stick with this name until the middle of the 6th century when it was renamed Triaditsa, and finally got the name of Sofia we know it as today in the 15th century, being named after a church in the city. Canada's Ottawa had the very basic name of Bytown to begin with, named after Colonel John By. It was only in the 19th century that the name of Ottawa was given to the city. In Africa, we have the nation of Chad and their capital of N'Djamena. In the past, this place was named Fort Lamy. This name change occurred to try and remove foreign names from the nation and replace them with native African ones instead. This was also the case in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in which their capital of Leopoldville was renamed Kinshasa to make the name more African and native. The Republic of Congo's capital had a different name once upon a time too, being Nakuna. It was renamed Brazzaville in 1884 after French explorer Pierre Savernon de Blaza. The Dominican Republic's capital of Santo Domingo was renamed Ciudad Trujillo from 1936 to 1961. This is because the nation's dictator at the time, Rafael Trujillo, had renamed the city after himself. Back in Africa, with Equatorial Guinea's capital of Malabo. Before this name, the city was called Santa Isabel, but even before that it was called Port Clarence. This was in honour of the Duke of Clarence, who would go on to become King William IV of the United Kingdom. The Gambia's capital of Banjul initially had the name of Bathurst, once again after a British peer. Greenland is a nation with ties to Denmark. When the Danish first settled here, they named the capital Godfab, meaning Good Hope. When the nation gained more independence, however, they chose the name of Nuuk, meaning just Cape in their native Greenlandic. Ireland's capital of Dublin was seemingly once called Baia, which means place of the hurdled ford. However, I've also read that this isn't the old name for the city, but just its Irish name. And I also read this name actually refers to a different older settlement entirely. Perhaps one of the most impressive cases of name changes is with the capital of Kazakhstan. It was initially called Akmalinsk, then changed to Teslinograd, then changed to Akmola, then changed to Astanta, and then changed to Nur-Sultan, as it's known as to this day. As mentioned, some of these I want to look into way more detail, and this is one for sure. The nearby nation of Kurzickstan has a capital that has gone by a few names too, though not as many as Kazakhstan's has. It was first called Pishpek before being changed to Frunzen, then taking the name Bishpek, as it's known as to this day. Laos is another country which has a capital that changed its name often. Border city is now called Vientiane. In the past, it was known as Shandong, Xianfeng, and even Luang Prabang. Libya's capital of Tripoli was referred to by the Greeks as Oea. This, however, seems to be another case of an old town being destroyed as opposed to a flat-out name change. Podgorica in Montenegro has had a slew of names too. It started life under the name of Biraziminium. Afterwards it became Ribinica, then finally became Podgorica. However, from 1946 until 1992, the city was named Titograd due to socialist rule. After 1992, however, they went back to the name of Podgorica. Morocco's capital of Rabat too had a much older name, that being Shella. This once again may just be an old name for an ancient settlement that once stood here. Mozambique's capital of Maputo once shared its name with a person. The city was called Lourenço Marques, named after an explorer with the same name. Unsurprisingly, North Korea's Pyongyang has had a large selection of names in the past. These include Wangmyeongyang, Seongyang, and Haeyo. What's even more unsurprising is that there have been moves to try and rename the city Kim Il-sung City and Kim Jong-il City after previous rulers of the nation. Norway's capital was actually originally called Oslo, however it was in a completely different location. When that city was destroyed in a fire in 1624, the Danish king Christian IV decreed the town should be rebuilt in a different location and named after him. This is how Oslo ended up with the name of Christiana. It would be in only 1925 that the name of Oslo would be restored. Pakistan's capital Islamabad was originally called Rajshahi when it was a much smaller settlement. Portugal's capital of Lisbon was a pretty Christian place. However, in the past it was a Muslim city, and in its Muslim past the city had a completely different name, that being Al-Uzbuna. It seems that the name was changed to Lisbon in 1147. Serbia's capital of Belgrade is found upon the remains of a city with a completely different name entirely, that being Singadunum. The capital of the Seychelles has a name change that really reflects the nation's history. It was initially named L'Establishment when it was under French rule. However, when the British took over, they promptly renamed the city Victoria after their queen. While no longer under British rule, the name of Victoria remains. Singapore is a city-state, meaning not only did its capital used to have a different name, but in turn the entire nation did too. This original name was Temasak. While firmly called Singapore now, you can still see reference to this older name in some places. Slovakia and Slovenia are two countries that often get mixed up due to their similar names. While their capitals' names are not similar, both their capitals have gone by different names in the past. Slovakia's has gone by Presburg and Pozsony before settling on Bratislava, and Slovenia's capital was named Emona and Laibach before settling on Ljubljana as it is today. Like its northern brethren, South Korea's capital of Seoul has had a large selection of names too. These previous names include Hansanju, Hanyan, Hanseon, and Gyeongseon. Tajikistan's Dushanbe was known as Stalinabad for a spell, for reasons I'm sure are pretty clear to most of us. The other stan of Turkmenistan has a capital with a name that has changed too. It went from Potolask to Ashgabat. And finally, the capital of Zimbabwe changed its name from the incredibly British name of Salisbury to the much more fittingly native name of Harare. This really goes to show us that even the most important cities in our nations can have their names changed too. Historic places were suggested by Juan Rodriguez Forlelo, and thanks to their suggestion, they will now be honoured as Name Explain's patron saint of historic place names. Do you have a good idea for somewhere that's name could be covered in a Name Explain video? If so, then please consider donating on Patreon. Just $1 a month helps keep the channel running and earns you a weekly chance to suggest somewhere to be turned into a video, and you too could be a Name Explain Patreon saint. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Patreon is vital to Name Explain, and donating just $2 a month allows you to enjoy ad-free videos and bonus Patreon exclusive content. It also allows you to help choose what names get explained in upcoming videos, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you so much for all the support you guys give Name Explain. Thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. Check out another video and subscribe to stay in the loop on all things Name Explain. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram where I'm Name Explain YT, and also join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain, both of which will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you all so much.